Hey, everybody, it's your friend James Shaw. Thank you so much for joining us to hang out and learn and grow and get better. We're doing what we do every week, which is talk to elite agents who are doing elite things. And I'm really excited to talk to Alison because Alison, you may be running your business a little differently than what most people would expect, and yet it's working at an elite level. And it's all about having the right help around you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But would you introduce yourself to everyone? Tell them who you are and where you are and a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Alison Simon. I'm in the Philadelphia area. I do Philadelphia and the suburbs. I have a team of admins. I do not have any agents on my team. I'm truly a solo agent, but I never think that that's correct because I have so many admins that help me run my team effectively and, make me the number one agent in the largest brokerage in our region.
Yeah, as I say, you sell a lot of houses, so it's
I
not
do.
like you're dabbling or pretending. You've got a really great business, and the way you've
Yep.
done it, the way I understand it, is that you're staying in your lane. You're doing the stuff that you're great at. You're leveraging out on the stuff that is not your jam or that takes up too much time.
Yes.
So tell us about what your team looks like. This team of admin.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have my director of operations. She is essentially my right hand, the clone of me, if you will. And then underneath of her, there are five others. There's the transaction coordinator. There's the two VAs. We actually have two of them, and I think a VA and an EA are they're extremely similar. They're basically the same um, profile in a KPI. And our two VAs do a lot of the same things and some different. One of them is Monday through Friday, the other is Thursday through Monday. They're both full time. And the reason that we have that second VA is that we realized once my director of ops, Mary, was on board, that we really had a gap of the weekends when people wanted to write offers and were reaching out, and it would cause me to have to jump back in and do some admin things. So we got someone to cover the weekends. So that's, the third. The fourth is a marketing intern. We have a college student. She's a Penn kid. She is now a junior. She's been with us for almost 3 years. She does all of our marketing. I'm a big fan of having someone from a college step in, someone from a generation that's way below mine, jump in and do the social media, and she revamped all of our marketing. And then lastly, we have a runner. So that would be six with my director of ops. And then the other part of our business is that I have two showing agents. They're people I've trained. They're dedicated to me. They are their own individual solo agents. I like to go into the productivity coaching program and ask who's someone that's going to be excellent, that we can just tell they've got that fire. I want to mold them, and I'll let them follow me on, listing appointments, buyer consults, just basically shadow me. And in return, I want them to show homes for me and get paid to do it. And we're not talking per door. I'm not going to talk numbers, but they get an hourly rate. And then they also get a small percentage of my commission to really motivate them to sell the home. So that's the way my business is structured.
It's a lot, and I think the first thing people are going to ask is, "Well, are you making any money?" Because you got a lot of
Yeah.
people you're paying,
Mhm.
so you are making money. Yes.
Yeah, I run at 79% profitability.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's this book would Gary would do a round off back handspring from what he's
Yeah,
written in this book.
literally. We're really, really, we don't pay for nonsense. We get all those calls, and I just like hang up on them every
Yeah,
time.
right.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, and you're in Gary's group and you're learning the strategies that work and making it fit for you. And so I just always want to warn people that when you hear of an agent who comes on here and says, "Hey, this is what my team looks like," and you go, "Well, that's not what the model says," or "Shouldn't you be doing this?" I'm just going to go, "Allison, are you happy in making money?" And I think your answer is yes and yes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that my model is like level 4, but I've built it out some.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about it a little bit. I guess, did this come out of necessity as to why you did this? Tell me how you came to the conclusion that this was the best model for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I think like everyone, you start, and then if you're hitting the ground running and you're really successful right off the bat, you feel like you're crazy and your head's going to explode, and you're flying by the seat of your pants, and you're just trying to keep all the deals together while still procuring new business. And at that point, I hired an admin, and I just sort of worked my way up. And each time I hired and then had someone leave, like I went through 8 admins before I found the right fit. Right. And by the way, there's a common denominator there, and that's me. I'm the problem. I had to hire for the right position, the right thing I wanted, and you get what you pay for. Right. So when I finally realized that what I wanted was an operations director and someone to really help run my business, not just take orders from me, essentially, that was when my business really took off. And once she was on board, I put her into MAPS coaching right away. And we sort of together built out, like, what do we want off my plate? What do we want off her plate? And with both of our coaches involved, built out this structure that was very different, but yet a lot of big teams have. So if you look at larger models, 5, 6, they have marketing people. They have, dedicated transaction coordinators. They have all of these positions, right? The only thing I don't have is an ISA that, you can tailor that to fit if the budget works for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. So you had to go find a bunch of people, but I want to go back to why you even decided to do this in the first
Yeah.
place, because it would be very easy to just sit up and continue to be a solo agent and go do it all and maybe have a little bit of a TC. But I think that just leads to a lot of work, and maybe some frustration. And that came up in your family, some frustration.
Yes, absolutely. So when I started in real estate, I got married that same year. And my poor husband, we had done that love language test, and his love language was quality time. And I was just not spending any time with him. And about 6 months into our marriage, he said, like, I don't mean this to be as mean as it's going to sound, but I have to say it. Have I made a mistake? Because I never see you. And that hurt. That was a gut punch. And he was right. And I said, just please stick it out. I have a plan. And I wasn't sure I knew my plan, but I knew that I had a plan. And then, I'm older. We didn't meet until I was 35. I got pregnant when I was 39. And now I have a 4-year-old, right? And I want to be present. I want to be the mom that picks him up from school. I want to be able to coach his soccer team when he's older. And you can't do that and sell 75 units a year and be the number one. You can't have it all if you don't have leverage in place and you don't have someone else to step in. So that's really why I did it, was for my sanity, my mental health, and my marriage, really, and my family.
It's changed everything for you. In fact, you've created a course that you teach called From Burnout to Balance.
Yep.
You're going to teach that for our Inspire members in December. So thank you so much for offering to do that. But you've learned a lot of lessons, and so I want to uncover some of them.
Yeah.
And one of the first lessons you brought up, and you just brought it up a minute ago, was you got to make sure you find the right person and follow the right process. So how does one do that?
Yeah. So you can either use the career visioning model and hire yourself, or you can hire someone to hire for you, right? Depends on where you are in your career and how much you want to spend, because if you're hiring someone to hire for you, you're definitely spending money to do that. Either way, career visioning is key. And I think it's really interesting. You don't actually have to be a KW agent to take career visioning, but it's very helpful. KW lays out these processes for you so that you don't have to go build the wheel yourself. Take career visioning, definitely train them when they come on board, because that's the piece I always failed at. I would find talent, and then I would have this grand plan that I was going to train them and we were going to be great. And then I couldn't slow down enough to speed up with them, right? I just couldn't slam on the brakes. I just really struggled with that. I found such good talent that I found a really successful director of operations for someone else's team. She left me and went to him and has built him to be a mega team, right? But I just didn't follow the process enough. That second part of career visioning, where you're training them and doing 30, 60, 90, it's key. It's really key.
That's great. All right. Yeah, career visioning is a course KW offers that teaches you all that stuff: how to hire, how to train, how to get people up and running. All right. So that's a key. But I imagine you've made some mistakes too. What are some of you just gave us one, not really having a plan to train.
Yeah.
What are some other mistakes you've made when you've hired?
I think making sure that the personality is correct, right? I'm a really direct person. I'm from Philly. We tend to be more blunt, but I think I'm even further on that high D spectrum than just like a Philadelphian. I never slowed down on Monday morning to be like, how was your weekend? How are you doing? Because that's not me. That's never who I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So to hire someone who was more delicate and needed me to ask those questions and needed me to do those personal check-ins, that's the wrong fit for me, right? Like that's a big mistake. And I kept making it over and over. I think another big mistake is that I would ignore these giant glaring red flags because I want to see the best in people. That's just who I am. And that's an Achilles heel. And recognizing that, which is how I knew I could not do the hiring, right? Like I kept hiring the wrong person because I just ignored these red flags. So I eventually just hired another company to hire for me, because I was really just not doing a good job.
Hmm. You hired a friend too, right?
Yeah, oh my God, early on.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hired my very first hire was a friend of my husband's wife, and we are no longer friends, and we never see them because it blew up in my face. I just
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing.
Is that more about you or about because I know people are going to be watching going, well, I hired a friend and it worked out just fine. But
Yeah,
I do hear more often than not, I hear a mistake was I hired a friend or a family member. I hear that a lot.
yeah,
So if someone did have an opportunity and a friend or family member was a good fit, what advice would you share based on your experience?
yeah. Have really clear, delineated roles, and if you're going to have a conversation, that something's not going well, set the stage appropriately so that that conversation doesn't run off the rails. Because I think I was just a really poor manager and I didn't know how to have those conversations. So that was one of the biggest failures I made.
I think it's the stuff you're saying is seems to be pretty common. A lot of people in this industry are like you. It's put your head down, get to work, get it done. We have
Hmm.
a process. We want to help people. We don't recognize we've got blind spots that we don't see. That's why they're called blind spots. Your husband alerted you to one, which
Hmm.
is I married you because I want to spend time with you. So we need to be able to spend time together. So you were at least open to hearing him. I'm curious about how that all went down. But it probably took a lot of energy for him to be able to finally sit down and say, Allison, we need to hang out more.
Yeah.
Like a lot of energy. I'm picturing my wife saying the same thing. So I think that's you had him reveal that blind spot to you and you went to find it. But then you have other blind spots that you realize like, okay, I'm not great at hiring. I'm not great at training. So I've got what process can I put into place? So
Yeah.
once you figured those things out, and started to hire a little bit differently and train a little bit differently. I imagine it's had a significant impact on both your business and your personal world. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, my personal world is that I get to be present with my son all the time and enjoy these precious years that I'm never going to do it again. Right. Like this is my one and done. He's the light of my life and I get to be
Mhm.
present and just enjoy that. That's a big one for me. I'm not really working weekends. That's another big one. Like I get to see my husband and my son over the weekend. We get to do things together. Um, and I'm really choosing who I show homes to when I show homes because I utilize two showing agents. That doesn't mean I never show a house. That means that I choose who I'm showing homes to. And if it's like my best friend I have a really good friend buying a house right now, I want to be there because I love her and it's an excuse to spend time with her. But if it's someone that I'm not in that relationship with, it's very easy for me to say, hey, listen, showing the home is like the least important part of my job. The rest of it is what matters. So, like, let me get that door open for you on your schedule because I clearly am not going to be able to fit it into mine. And that has been a big one. So, that's the personal aspect of it. Um, Professionally, I guess, how it's changed. That was the question, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I wanted to know business and personal.
Yeah. So, business wise, I mean, I've been able to scale so much in a way that I never dreamed of. I think when I started in real estate and I realized that this was going to be it, this was my success, and this was the career I was sort of destined for. It took off, and I didn't really know where it was going to go. And I guess in the very beginning, I was like, wow, I'd love to be able to just sell 10 million a year. And then eventually that morphed into like, what if I could sell 20 million? Then it was like, well, what if I could like make it into the elite mastermind of Gary's group? Like that would be so cool. And now it's like, I want to sell enough that I am remaining in Gary's group, but I'm not going crazy. And so, for this year, it was like, I want to exceed in our market. My price point's pretty low. So I want to exceed 30 million. That's my goal and sell like 75 to 80 homes. and we're there. So it won't be an issue for me. And having all the leverage in place really just makes this function such that, on a Monday morning, I can take time out of my schedule to meet with you because, everything's handled. The
It's
major
so
stuff's
great.
going on. Mhm.
I think when people uncover the power of leverage, and I learned this from Gary one time, was they were working on some project and Gary was leaving for the day, and the people working on the project were like, I'm going to probably be here pretty late. And his thought was, well, that's fine. Like, if that's the way you chose to run it, then you can run it that way. And he had given them permission to go add someone to the team to help, and they hadn't taken action on that. But
Mhm.
his thing was, I'm leaving because it's time for me to go home. And you could be leaving too if you would
Yeah.
have put the right leverage in place to
Yes.
be able to support you. And so I think there's this thought that in this business, we've got to work 24/7, 365. I don't think we do.
Mm-mm.
I, like you, I try to end my days by 3 so I can pick up my daughter at school. And then I try not to work on weekends because I want to spend time with my wife and daughter. Allison, it can be done.
It can. It's true.
So, what advice would you give to someone that wants it? That they're sitting here and going, I have people coming up in my brain right now that I'm going, I hope they watch this because they've seen massive explosion in their business. You capped in your first 6 months and have been a capper ever since and have built a big thing. They're go, go, go. They're high performing people. They're competitive. I imagine you're competitive. I feel like you probably played sports.
Yeah.
And so all of that stuff, they are like you, that they're competitive, push, get it done by all means necessary, but yet they want a life. What
Mhm.
advice would you give them?
I would actually quote Gary and I would say, don't let ego get in the way. And when he said that, I truly thought he means I'm egotistical and that's not me. But it was on the plane ride home from that mastermind that I realized he was saying, if you think you can do it better than someone else, every single job, you're out of your mind. That's ego. So I would say don't let ego get in the way and figure out what 3 to 5 things you want off your plate immediately, such that you can have a life or procure more business or whatever it is with that extra time and hire for that.
It's so good. All right. So then, if I want to take step one, we already know career visioning is important for you.
Yes.
And then either you're going to hire on your own or hire a company. And there's plenty of those companies. I don't want to recommend any, but you can go find one. What would be the next step?
So after you have someone in place, it's extremely important that you train them. I've found that like recording your screen as you're doing a thing and just verbalizing what you're doing so that it's recorded. Anyone can just go and watch that if you have to refill a new position, right? If we have a new VA, we have a whole, we have a whole folder of like videos they can watch and essentially self-train on different things that we do. That's a big one.
You also talked about, and I think this might be hard for you sometimes, that the way to go fast is maybe to go slow, to bring it down a little bit and take the
Yes.
time on the front end to do some stuff. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, if you don't slow down, you can't speed up. If you don't hit the brakes, you're never going to be able to exceed wherever it is you are. You're just going to keep hitting that ceiling and hitting that ceiling repeatedly because you didn't slow down enough to work on your business and see the bigger picture, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be slow down about training. It could also be slow down to take a step back and spend a day just like mapping out where you see your business in the future and maybe what you want to do with that. So I think that's a big one. How to do it, you just have to force yourself to do it and just know that, you might miss a couple calls and you might miss a couple texts, but everything can be responded to later. And you can even leave away messages on your phone. A lot of people don't know that. Android has something built in for that. Apple, you can just do the driving focus. So that's what I have right now. It says I'm in an appointment and I'll get back to them soon.
That's really good. All right. So your class, Burnout to Balance, you're going to teach for our Inspire members on
Yep.
December the 3rd.
Yes.
Tell everybody what that's about in case they're interested.
So it's a lot of how I got to where I am, right? Like that literal steps. Watch my growth, see how I started and where I failed, right? Recognize those pain points and be able to relate to that. And then literally like, a little bit of a how to, like if you need a showing agent, if you have a first hire, how to go from there and, build out exactly what you need. And just also like understanding the systems that we have in place That's really how we run our business, our systems and our processes. So I talk a lot about that and what we have in place there.
That's really good. We're excited about it. If you are not an Inspire member, want to join, jamesdshaw.com has all the info so you can figure out how to get in there. I'm excited, Allison, to learn more from you about that. I think it's going to be great. Some final thoughts as we wrap up on this conversation today?
I mean, I think people get really nervous when they hear the word leverage and they get anxious about the cost. And I'll just put this out there. When I found the right fit, she leveled up my business such that our GCI went up over 200,000 that first year. So they usually pay for themselves once you find the right person.
That's a pretty good return because I'm sure she's not getting paid $200,000. So
Definitely not.
it's
Nope.
a
It was a
pretty
great
good
return on
return.
investment there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take it all day. Allison, you're awesome. I really like you. This is the first time we've met, but I feel like we're best friends. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. We'll look forward to seeing you on December 3rd. All the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.